Welcome to this explainer. As a military analyst, I spend a lot of my time looking at the hard, tactical realities of modern warfare. And let me tell you, right now, we are right in the middle of a world-altering paradigm shift. We are moving incredibly fast away from traditional combat and charging straight into the era of the AI-driven battlefield. The pace of this technology is just relentless, and understanding the sheer military necessity driving this shift, right alongside the really profound ethical questions it raises, is absolutely crucial for all of us.
Okay, let's just put ourselves directly in the commander's seat for a second, dealing with literally the highest stakes imaginable. Would you let a robot pull the trigger? I mean, this is no longer some hypothetical scenario for a sci-fi movie. This is the actual tactical dilemma currently facing military leaders and ethicists all over the world. As this tech advances, that line between human operation and machine autonomy is getting really blurry, and it's forcing us to ask where we draw the absolute line on deploying lethal force. Now, to truly wrap our heads around the nature of today's conflicts and why AI is so appealing, we first have to define asymmetric warfare. Basically, it happens when opposing forces have drastically different military power. In the past, this meant guerrilla tactics, but today, it means extremely low-cost, highly effective technologies like AI and uncrewed systems completely disrupting traditional military balances. It's allowing small, tech-savvy forces to legitimately challenge massive standing armies. It's a real game changer.
So, here is our flight path for today. We're going to cover the new asymmetric battlefield, tech in future warfare, the ethics of autonomy, keeping humans in the loop, the automation arms race, and finally, future wars, robot versus robot.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the new asymmetric battlefield.
We are witnessing a dramatic, real-time shift in how wars are actually fought. Traditional warfare relied on deploying massive human armies. It was incredibly expensive, it was slow, and it relied on overwhelming force. Future warfare completely flips that dynamic on its head. Militaries are pivoting hard to low-cost, incredibly precise drones and AI systems. These tools can just outmaneuver traditional, lumbering assets at an absolute fraction of the cost.
And we're seeing this doctrinal shift play out right now. Deep in the desert of southern Morocco, at Camp America, militaries are gathering for the massive African Lion joint exercise. Just 4 years ago, this whole thing was entirely focused on traditional, large-scale combat dynamics. Today, out there in the desert sands, the operational focus has heavily shifted to testing and integrating AI, tech, and robotic forces into battlefield maneuvers.
Moving right along to Section 2, Tech in Future Warfare.
So this brings a completely new, almost modular approach to combat. Step 1 is deploying these autonomous off-road vehicles, kind of like the ones from Overland AI. Step 2 is all about versatility, using multiple mounting points so commanders can just swap out communications gear, sensors, or weapons on the fly depending on what they need. And Step 3 is the ultimate strategic goal here, removing human soldiers from the immediate line of fire by using robotic combat. The rush toward all this tech, it really comes down to force protection. The modern battlefield is extremely lethal. Recent conflicts, like what we're all seeing in Ukraine, sadly prove the staggeringly high human cost of modern warfare. And because of this massive risk, replacing human soldiers with unmanned ground vehicles is a powerful military necessity just to save lives. At this point, integrating this advanced technology isn't just an idea, it's considered strategically inevitable. Which leads us to a very tough conversation in Section 3, the ethics of autonomy.
This creates what is probably the most critical dilemma of our era. How do we safely and ethically deploy lethal force when the technology is moving this insanely fast? Militaries feel forced to adopt these autonomous systems just to maintain a strategic edge over their adversaries. But when you start deploying machines that are capable of navigating a combat zone completely on their own, ensuring they operate responsibly becomes absolutely crucial.
Let's look at how they are managing that in Section 4, humans in the loop.
Right now, the current ethical anchor for militaries testing these systems is actually very strict. For anything that is lethal, there is a human in the loop. What this means is a vehicle might drive itself across contested terrain, or a drone might use AI to track a target, but the actual decision to deploy a weapon, to take a human life, remains strictly 100% in the hands of a human operator.
So, in practice, what does that look like? Well, take the CROS system, the Common Remotely Operated Weapons Station. It's basically a remote turret mounting heavy weapons, like an M240 machine gun. The vehicle navigates autonomously, sure, but a human operator actually controls the turret. Another great example is the APOB line charge system used to clear obstacles. Even when it's carried in by an autonomous robot, the firing and detonation strictly require a human finger on the remote trigger.
Okay, let's zoom out a bit for Section 5, the automation arms race.
Because despite those ethical guardrails we just talked about, geopolitical competition is just pouring fuel on the fire. For instance, the United States has made it an explicit policy to sustain and enhance its global AI dominance in defense. Major powers around the world view leading in military AI not just some cool technological upgrade, but as fundamentally tied to national security, economic survival, and strategic deterrence. For them, it is a mandatory race to win.
To actually secure this dominance, militaries are executing really aggressive AI acceleration strategies. The goal is to extend their tactical lead by unleashing rapid experimentation and just drawing innovation from any sector possible. A massive part of this strategy involves actively cutting through slow bureaucratic red tape, focusing on highly targeted investments, and proving they have the agility to completely dominate future combat environments. And that brings us to our final point, Section 6, Future Wars, Robot versus Robot.
Predicting a future where robots fight other robots sounds totally like science fiction, right? Well, military analysts confirm it is already a reality. In Ukraine, we have literally already witnessed engagements involving entirely uncrewed assets fighting each other. We are officially entering the era of attritional warfare with zero humans immediately present on the front line. It's fascinating and it's terrifying.
And this brings us to a pretty brutal, foundational truth about modern conflict, and honestly, why this matters so much for global security. As the battlefield empties of humans and fills with autonomous systems, warfare becomes mathematically simple. Whoever has the best technology will win. It's no longer just a contest of troop numbers or morale. It is a sheer contest of technological superiority, raw processing power, and algorithm speed. As we look toward a fully automated theater of operations, where victory just goes to the fastest microchip, I want to leave you with this final thought. When robots fight our wars, what happens to our humanity? It's a heavy question, but it's one that ethicists, commanders, and every single one of us needs to deeply reflect on as this technology continues its relentless advance. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning and keep asking the big questions.